Joined now by Russ Levenson, an ordained Episcopal priest. Russ is also the author of this book, The Spiritual Lessons Found in the Game of Golf. The name of the book is In God's Grip. Good to see you.
Good to see you, David, and thank you for having me on. I always appreciate what Channel 42 has done. I've been a watcher since 1965.
Well, thank you so much. Well, we certainly appreciate that. We love sharing stories like this. So I'm curious, how did this book come about?
Yeah, I've written some other books, but I was actually preparing for a funeral for a golfer, and I personalized my funeral homilies, and this was a great fella, and I just was kind of reading some stories about golf and illustrations about golf, and I came across Ben Hogan's classic 5 Lessons, which was written in the late 50s. Great, and it's a great book. It's a great read, and but the more I read through it, I thought, you know, this really is a wonderful metaphor for the Christian life. His 5 basic lessons about golf can kind of bleed into our spiritual lives, and so I wrote the book, and mercifully got the permission of Ben Hogan. Didn't have children, but he had heirs, and they managed his estate, and they gave me not only permission but support to move ahead with the book. Yeah.
So what about Ben Hogan's life and even the book itself that so impacted you that you thought, I need to do something, I need to do more with this?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. Kind of 2 pieces. Of course, he was not demonstrably a religious man. I mean, he didn't talk about his faith or whatever was going on inside in that part of his life very often, but he did once, and he had achieved a certain level of real popularity and a lot of achievements, and he was giving an interview thanking people for everything that he had accomplished in his life, including his wife. And then at the very end of that interview, he goes, you know, you just can't do something like this without God's help. So it opened a little window. And so that was kind of piece 1. The second piece is I think he, as he does for golf, he talks about a lot of people make golf a very difficult game, and they're way too hard on themselves. And he says, if you could just, and he has a great sense of humor, you know, that comes out in his writing. If you can master just a few pieces, not only will you become the golfer you want to become, but you'll enjoy the game of golf.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that spoke to me about the faith. I think people, particularly in my business, sometimes we make it so difficult to understand the faith. And, a lot of pieces.
Super complicated.
Absolutely, and it's not. And I think if we practice some simple things, we can not only come to faith, but we'll also enjoy being in faith.
So what can golf teach us about our faith?
Yeah, I think that the 5 lessons that Hogan talks about are grip, stance, backswing, downswing, and review.
Okay.
And so I use those 5 pieces by saying, you know, how do we live in this life? Do we kind of try to grip onto this life, or do we remember we're held in the hands of someone we call God and our Lord Jesus? And I encourage people to rest more in that than in themselves. Stance, where are we standing day after day? Are we standing in the presence of God? Backswing is all those things we do to build up our faith: prayer, meditation, reading the scriptures, worship, etc. Downswing is all the things we do to push our faith out into the world, serving others, giving, being good stewards of God's creation, all those kinds of things. And then the 5th lesson is review. And I said, well, there will be a review, but you know, Hogan says you should constantly kind of be reviewing your game, and I think we should do the same with our spiritual lives.
Yeah. Where can our viewers pick up a copy?
It's available. I think it's available in most of the Books A Million stores here, but it's on Amazon and Target and Walmart and Books A Million, Barnes and Noble. And I'm very grateful to the publisher Morehouse in New York. They've done a lot of work to help get it out there, and I hope it's a fun read for people, but also deepens their walk with our Lord.
Yeah. Well, I think you hit the green with this one. I think you. Right where you placed it, right where you wanted to.
Great.
Really interesting concept, and appreciate your time. And the next time you have a book, I want to have you back. Let's continue this conversation.
Great.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Russ.